Welcome to my next Lost. Season 2 episode review video. Before I get into that though, pretty important, if you weren't caught up to the point where I am at rewatching or watching Lost, or you're just not entirely sure, then you definitely need to take the initiative and pay attention to the episode's title, which of course I'll mention as well as put in the description. If that happens to be the case, you find that you're not caught up, it would be my recommendation that you don't watch this video any further to avoid any potential spoilers. And I've already covered this before, but I've already watched Lost 3 times. The last few times that I've watched it, I binge watched it, and I want to let it resonate. So I'm only watching 1 to 3 episodes per week. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. Definitely in my top 5 of all time. That's for sure. But I'm not the only one that's watching Lost. The legendary Crazy Coffee Man, who you see in various comment sections of my videos for Lucifer, Dexter, and Breaking Bad, is actually watching Lost for the first time. And I appreciate him for watching the show because I think he's really, really going to love it. So join us on the journey and let's discuss this awesome and amazing show. However, no spoilers past this episode due to the fact that he's watching it for the first time. I'm sure he's a few episodes ahead of this one, but we don't want to take the chance of spoiling anything. So with all that said, this will be Lost, Season 2, Episode 17. The title of this episode is called Lockdown. And this will be my review, reaction, recap after just finishing watching the episode. So we start with our flashback. Locke and Helen now live together, and Locke prepares for a special picnic during which he's actually going to propose to Helen. So he wants to take the next step. While reading the newspaper, Helen looks at the obituaries and sees that John Locke's father, Anthony Cooper, has died. Back to current time on the island. After Henry's speech about what he would do if he was another, Jack commands Locke to put him back in the armory. Henry makes a comment about Jack's behavior towards Locke. Why do you let him talk to you like that? Which makes John Locke angrier than before, so he throws Henry back in the armory and orders him to shut up. In the jungle, the search party consisting of Ana Lucia, Charlie, and Sayid cannot find Henry's balloon. Sayid confronts Ana Lucia and tells her that by believing Henry's claims, she gave him 2 more days to plot his escape. Suddenly, Charlie calls out to them and shows them Jennifer's grave. Ana Lucia wonders why it isn't raining in this area, and as they look up, they see Henry Gale's balloon, just like he described. Jack asks Hurley where Ana Lucia is. He says she left a day ago, but does not know where. Hurley also complains about being in the loop, like nobody tells him anything. Claire comes to Jack, worried about Aaron, while Libby is worried about a sea urchin sting. She points out that the poker game between Sawyer, Kate, and Hurley, or points it out when he tells her to put Neosporin on it. While working out, John Locke starts to hear distorted noises coming from the speakers. And then at his father's funeral, back to the flashback, which Father Chuck delivers, Locke says to his father's coffin that he forgives him. 2 men are watching the funeral from a distance. Locke notices a white car nearby that leaves as the funeral ends. Both Locke and Henry are intrigued by this noise at the hatch, or the swan, which turns out to be a countdown. As a woman's voice reaches 0, a lockdown process occurs in the hatch, causing the blast doors to drop, locking Locke inside the living area. So locking Locke inside. Locke manages to put a large pry bar under the final blast door just before it comes down. Sawyer, Hurley, and Kate are still playing Texas Hold'em for fun, a game that I'm very skilled at. I just don't get lucky. I'm skilled as hell, but I don't get lucky playing it. People have terrible hands, and they end up staying in the hand, putting all this money in the pot, and then they come away with a better hand. It's just luck. My luck is not good. Anyway, I actually played professional poker in 2011, the whole year. Anyway, Sawyer calls Hurley mutton chops. Jack arrives and displays a great knowledge of poker, and Sawyer invites Jack, calling him Amarillo Slim, who won a World Series of Poker main event bracelet way back in the day when they only had like 20 people play the event. He's since passed, obviously, to put your mangoes where your mouth is, and Jack agrees to play. Locke has opened his own business, we're back to the flashback, called Welcome Home, where he works as a house inspector. He checks the house of a young woman and tells her that her husband will be happy. She corrects him and says that she does not have a husband. As he's about to get in his car, the white car from the funeral stops beside him. Inside is Anthony Cooper. Anthony Cooper reveals to Locke that he faked his own death to hide from a couple of men he stole $700,000 from in a retirement con. He tells John Locke that he's setting up a new identity, but he's afraid he's being watched. He offers John a cut of the money if he withdraws it from a safety deposit box in a bank for him. So, in the Swan, the hatch, Locke decides to enlist Henry's help to get out of there so he can enter the numbers and push the button on time. He makes a deal with him that he won't let anybody hurt him. And then Jack wins all of Sawyer's fruits. Sawyer says he wants his fruits back, and Jack suggests they play for the medication that Sawyer stole from the Swan, and Sawyer agrees. And then back at the Swan hatch, whatever you want to call it, the lights start to flicker with great effort. Locke and Henry use the bar from the barbell set to raise the blast door. Once they've raised it about a foot, they prop it open with a metal toolbox. Locke tries to slide under the door, but the toolbox gives away, and Locke's legs are crushed underneath the door. Henry puts several weights from the barbell set under the blast door to stop it from further crushing John's legs. And then back to our flashback. Locke refuses to be conned again. He is still swayed by a desire to win his father's love, so he goes through with it. He withdraws the money from the safety deposit box number 1516. When he gets home, he finds out that Helen let the two men he saw during Anthony Cooper's funeral, his father's pursuers. One of them, Jimmy Bain, asks Locke if he has seen his dad since his death. When Locke lies and says he did not, Bain asks Locke's permission to check his bag. The only thing he finds is Locke's paperwork, and then Helen asks John if he lied to these men, and John says he did not. Back to the island, Sawyer tries to deal from the bottom during the poker game. John Locke then tells Henry that he has to crawl through the vents to get to the computer room and then enter the numbers. Henry tries to climb the metal shelving to reach the vent, but falls, knocking himself unconscious, and then the alarm starts beeping. And then at the poker game, it's revealed that Sawyer has been to Tallahassee, and something that was burning, hence his knowledge of to what certain medicine does. Finally, Sawyer loses the meds too. At the end of the game, Sawyer asks Jack why he did not ask for the guns along with the medication, and Jack responds, "When I need the guns, I'll get the guns." With a strange look in his eye, Jack leaves, and Sawyer is somewhat shocked at this. Henry comes in and goes to the vents, or Henry comes to and goes to the vents, and Locke hears the alarm that tells him only a minute is left. Locke, in the flashback, brings the money to his father, who waits at the local motel. Anthony Cooper offers Locke his part of the money, but John refuses. Anthony Cooper is leaving, but suddenly Helen stands in the doorway. She asks, "Are you him?" and slaps Anthony Cooper. Locke follows her outside and apologizes, but Helen does not forgive him. She refuses his proposal and leaves. His dad also leaves in his cab, and Locke is left shattered and alone right when an oceanic airline or oceanic plane flies overhead. And then we go back to the island. As Locke shouts to Henry, the alarm suddenly stops, the lights turn off, and ultraviolet lights turn on as the numbers flat back to the 108 position. On the blast door, jamming Locke's legs, a hidden map appears. Locke stares at it, taking in its detail. The lights suddenly come on, and the blast door goes up. Locke barely manages to crawl into the computer room, but Henry is not there. He is behind Locke. Locke thanks him for not leaving him alone, and Locke thanks Henry for not leaving him. So he thinks of him a couple times. Jack heads to the hatch and Kate catches up with him. She says she's happy he won in his poker game against Sawyer. She asks him if she can borrow some soap to take a shower, but Jack tells her a pipe is busted and that the water has been running muddy. Jack says he would like to accompany Kate back to the beach. Suddenly, they both see a light flickering beneath the trees. They discover that the source of the light is a light beacon on a large pallet that was apparently airdropped. Inside the packaging, they find a supply of food marked with Dharma logos. Charlie, Saeed, and Ana Lucia return from their journey, and Jack asks what they found. And then back in the hatch, Henry takes care of John Locke's wound. Locke asks what Henry did to make the doors come up, and Henry tells him that he punched in the numbers and hit execute, but nothing happened except the timer ticked back to 108. He also mentions that the countdown timer showed red pictures that looked like hieroglyphics. The lights went out when Henry was in the vents already, and 10 seconds later, the doors came up. He didn't do anything. Suddenly, Jack, Kate, and the search party, Saeed, Charlie, and Ana Lucia, enter the hatch, and Saeed points his gun at Henry while Jack pushes him against the wall. Henry asks if they have found his balloon, and Saeed says they did, exactly as he described it, but that he still did not believe Henry, so he dug up the grave. Inside he found not a woman, but a man. He shows him a driver's license of a black man, a man named Henry Gale, ending this episode of Lost. So I've already stated before that this person is not Henry Gale. You'll find out eventually his name is Benjamin Linus. Not a huge spoiler. He's one of the most memorable characters on the show. Maybe not as good as Jack, Locke, and all these characters that we're really into right now, but he's definitely memorable. So this is one of my favorite episodes, at least in the earlier seasons of Lost. I'm going to give it a 9.0 out of 10. Obviously, John Locke is the character of the episode. Henry Gale, a.k.a. Benjamin Linus. I guess he's not Benjamin Linus yet, so he's Henry Gale. With an honorable mention as a male character. Helen, awesome performance by her. Jack did a little bit in this episode. He beat Sawyer at poker, so that has something. And then Saeed for just having that suspicion that this guy is not legit all along. So those are my thoughts regarding this episode of Lost. If you're a fan of the show and you want to help me out with the YouTube algorithm, please make sure that you Hulk smash that like button right now. Share the video with a friend right now. Put this video on any one of your social media platforms. Don't forget to sound off in the comment section about what your thoughts are on this episode, Lockdown of Lost. One of the best episodes of the earlier seasons. What would you rate the episode, and whom, if you had to choose, would be your characters of the episode? Remember, you'll be interacting with me and the legendary Crazy Coffee Man, but no spoilers past this episode. And then last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button. You're watching the video anyway. Subscribe to the channel, join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special. And you never know what you're going to see on JDev TV.